Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another top 5 video. And yep, one more top 5/10 video before the new year, and, definitely want to get one out during the holidays. So, that's right, you read the title of this top 5 video. Basically, I'm going to be, counting down my top 5 favorite Christmas films. I would do, say, a top 10 list, but it's really hard to choose, and I can only think of, 5 Christmas films that I really enjoy and that are some of my top 5 favorites. You get my point. So, yep. So, with all that being said, let's dive right into my top 5 favorite Christmas films. Number 5. A Christmas Carol from 1999 starring Sir Patrick Stewart. Yeah, so, Patrick Stewart's A Christmas Carol is, one of my 2 favorite Christmas Carol films, because there is another Christmas Carol film that's my all-time favorite. This is my number 2 favorite. And, I even did a top 5 list of my favorite Christmas Carol films. So, A Christmas Carol starring Patrick Stewart is actually pretty good. Even, my dad, he's enjoyed this. It's one of his favorite Christmas Carol movie adaptations. And, this was technically a TV movie. And that's another thing, too. I mean, with Patrick Stewart, okay, he's no stranger to TV. So when people would first hear about A Christmas Carol starring Patrick Stewart, would they think that, oh, is this a theatrical film? It almost looks like it, but no, it's a TV film. And yet the thing is, for example, like, people would be surprised, even I was kind of surprised too, that to find out that one of the best movie adaptations of A Christmas Carol, starring the legendary George C. Scott, it's not a theatrical film, it's a TV movie. That's insane. So there you go. But yeah, Patrick Stewart as Ebenezer Scrooge. Well, what can you say? Patrick Stewart is good in anything, and he can definitely play a really good Ebenezer Scrooge. And he's no stranger to A Christmas Carol, because he has done a lot with the story of A Christmas Carol. He's done narrations, like audio covers, and I think he's done A Christmas Carol in theater. I want to say he's done A Christmas Carol on stage, if I'm correct. You guys can help me out on that too. But, and I have to mention this, because there was one time on Star Trek The Next Generation, they did a little bit of A Christmas Carol. It was in an opening for an episode of The Next Generation. It was, it had to do something, I think it was Devil's Due, if I'm correct. The word devil is in there. And in the opening to the episode, we see Data on the holodeck, where it's A Christmas Carol, and Data's Ebenezer Scrooge. It's another one of those moments where Picard is, I guess, teaching Data how to act or something like that, as we've seen before, which is pretty funny. Just seeing Brent Spiner in that getup, and the fact that he's Data is hilarious, But, yeah, and that's another thing, too. Wouldn't it be kind of eerie if, I don't know, Jean-Luc Picard was pretending to be Ebenezer Scrooge, and the fact that, well, Patrick Stewart, he would actually play Ebenezer Scrooge? You get my point? That's hilarious, That'd be hilarious to think. With this movie, because I think, even Patrick Stewart said this, they were trying to stay true to the story of A Christmas Carol, and I'll take his word, it seems as though that they did their best. And the rest of the cast is fantastic. Like, some of the top actors, from Richard E. Grant as Bob Cratchit and Joel Grey as the Ghost of Christmas Past, this film had some pretty good choice of actors to play the characters. And, I have to say this. Patrick Stewart is the first actor to play Ebenezer Scrooge, where Ebenezer Scrooge is bald. You just bear with me. You just, I don't know. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but just, you get my point. The music is fantastic too, and I remember when I watched this for the first time, I was kind of creeped out just a little bit, and especially because with The Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, that's one of the scary parts of the story, and especially, when Ebenezer Scrooge sees his own dead body, and, it is kind of creepy, so, but of course, as we all know, in A Christmas Story, Ebenezer Scrooge, he is redeemed and becomes a better man, so, yeah, but with all that being said, the 1999 Christmas Carol with Patrick Stewart, I think is pretty good, and for it being my number 5 favorite Christmas film. Number 4. Die Hard. That's right, Die Hard makes the number 4 spot. And it's true, because Die Hard is labeled as a Christmas film. And I guess you could say it's true. It's an action/thriller Christmas film. Die Hard is such a good film, and for it being a Christmas film, I think for people that would learn and hear Die Hard for the first time, they would be surprised to find out that this is a Christmas film. Even Die Hard hasn't been the only action packed Christmas film. There have been others, and not to mention, the Die Hard's first sequel, it would be another Christmas film, so there you go. But the story is fantastic, the actors are really great, from the top actors, of course, Bruce Willis as John McClane, Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber, and this was a big thing, and, it's a big starting point up, I guess you could say, for Alan Rickman, as he would, he'd be well known to U.S. audiences when, he was in this. And not to mention, years later, we would also know him best for, say, Galaxy Quest and Severus Snape in the Harry Potter franchise / the Wizarding World franchise, And also, Bonnie Bedelia, if I'm saying her name right, who, I honestly forget, John and Holly, Bonnie's character, they are married and such, and John visits her wife, he comes down, and he is a police officer, but not in, say, is it Los Angeles, or, New York, I forget. It should say that in the description, No, I don't think so. Oh, yeah, his estranged wife. Yeah, so they are kind of estranged. I think they're going to be divorced or something. But, of course, in the end, they get back together, so, And so the rest of the cast, Reginald Viljohnson, if I'm saying his last name right, as Sergeant Al Powell, because he has a big part in this, and William Atherton, if I got his last name right, he once again plays a jerk in this film, just like how we all remember him best in Ghostbusters, and the late Paul Gleason, as the deputy police sergeant, he was good too. Not to mention, another great role that he had was the principal in The Breakfast Club. So, just all the action in this film, and, it has some hilarious moments and some memorable, quotable lines, especially from John McClane and Hans Gruber, yippee-ki-yay, mother effer. And especially, oh my gosh, a really great villain death sequence where, Hans Gruber, his death is just fantastic, where, John lets go of Hans and has to do with the watch, and the look on Hans Gruber's face, that was real. Alan Rickman that was his real reaction. From what I remember, they were going to count down for Alan, and they didn't get to 3. And I think even Alan was not too pleased afterwards, but hey, they obviously wanted to get a real reaction, so, and the music, too, as he falls to his death, and that one line that Paul Gleason's character gives, I hope that's not one of ours, and no, it's not! It's one of the terrorists, that, hijacked and took over the giant tall building. And that's another thing, too. Most of the film takes place in that one tall building, and just John making his way through that building and taking care of the other members of Hans Gruber's terrorist gang. You get my point. It's fantastic, really it is. And, of course, all ends well. William's character, he got what he deserved. He got a punch in the face, and also, like, Sergeant L. Powell, he had a kind of a sad backstory. Like, he accidentally killed a kid, if I'm correct, but he was redeemed because he helped kill the last terrorist that was alive in that building. So, there you go. A great moment for him. So, right at the end of the movie. But yeah, with all that being said, Die Hard, it's such a good movie and such a good Christmas film. And to any of you that have seen this film and, what I had to say on this. Yeah. So Die Hard, fantastic, and for it making the number 4 spot. Number 3. The Santa Claus 2. Yes, the Santa Claus 2 making the number 3 spot. I've stated this before, that the Santa Claus 3 is my all-time favorite. But, as for the other two, well, I've stated this about the first one. I'm not saying I hate it. Don't get me wrong, it is good. And since, it is the first Santa Claus film. But I'm just not into it, okay? So there's that. The Santa Claus 3, the Escape Clause, I actually enjoy as well. I don't think it's that bad. I know that when this came out, it didn't do that good. It was a disaster, unfortunately. And not to mention that it got nominated and I think won a lot of Razzie Awards. So, But definitely, the Santa Claus 2 is my all-time favorite. I could just watch this Disney Christmas film a bajillion times, I mean, it's really good. But I'm pretty sure, there are those that don't seem to really like it, and they like the first one. But, come on, the Santa Claus 2, it's such a fun sequel, Christmas film, you name it. It's got a lot of great stuff to it. With, of course, Tim Allen, once again a Scott Calvin, a.k.a. Santa Claus, and with the returning characters from, say, Bernard and Charlie, it was great to see them again. And it's got good emotion to it. For one thing, because, yeah, Charlie, he got himself on the naughty list for a good reason. 2 good reasons, that is. One is that, his school doesn't really celebrate Christmas, but the real reason is that, he misses his dad. And, the fact that, he has to keep that secret. He can't tell anybody that his dad is Santa. Yeah, so that's really tough. And new characters that come in, like we've got Curtis, and I'm telling you, Curtis and Bernard were so funny together. They were such a funny duo, just added at each other, you know what I'm saying? It was just hilarious. The toy Santa, the villain of the film, he was not that bad, and because it's Tim Allen playing that part as well. And the toy soldiers that the toy Santa creates, they were pretty cool as well. And it's got good music to it, and, the fact that Santa, Scott Calvin, that is, has to find a wife, and that being a Mrs. Claus, and when Carol steps in, who was at first the school's principal, and she's great too, and also Charlie's mom and stepdad. Now, I've stated this before, I didn't like them in the first film, but in the sequels, they were much better, and I think especially that goes for this. They were much better, in my opinion, for me, that is. Also, Lucy, who was in this too, yeah, she was adorable in this, and, she doesn't know that her uncle is Santa until the very end. Not to mention, we actually get more of, say, one of the reindeer, which being Comet, and a new reindeer that comes in. Is it Jeb, or No, it's Chet. Chet. That's right, Chet. Yeah, Chet was a pretty funny reindeer as well. And also, this was the first appearance of the legendary figures, and oddly enough, because one of them, Father Time, Peter Boyle, well, he was in the first Santa Claus film as Scott's boss. So people, I don't know, would seem to kind of forget that, that he was in the first one, and I guess, he was like, the lucky charm of the Santa Claus films, I guess you could say. I don't know. But anyways, so, the Santa Claus 2, I think it's got great chemistry. It's got good, funny moments, emotional stuff, as I just said, and, the fact that, if Scott doesn't find a wife in time and to get married on Christmas Eve, then he'll never be Santa again. That's the whole thing. And you know what? Scott does succeed in finding love that quickly in like 27 days, according to Father Time. It's amazing, I tell you. But anyways, with all that being said, the Santa Claus 2, I absolutely love, and for it making the number 3 spot. Yeah. Number 2. The Muppet Christmas Carol. Yep. The Muppet Christmas Carol, taking the number 2 spot. And I've stated this before, that The Muppet Christmas Carol is my all-time favorite movie adaptation of A Christmas Carol. But with Muppets. A lot of people, say that Muppet Christmas Carol stays true to the Charles Dickens story, that's what I've heard, and, I should agree too, because I think it kind of does, even though this is Muppets, okay? But still, what the Muppets do to A Christmas Carol is just fantastic, The Muppets are not only funny, but hey, they can sometimes bring emotion, and in this they definitely do. Not to mention one song that was cut from the theatrical release, but it was the key to the film, the key plot and so on, and thus, it was put back in later releases, and finally with Disney Plus, and that is, The Love Is Gone. And the Muppets that play the parts, like the characters in the story, are just fantastic. From Kermit the Frog as Bob Cratchit, Fozzie Bear as Fozzie Wig. That makes perfect sense. Beaker and Honeydew playing the parts of, the two gentlemen that come to Scrooge about the, charity donations, them. And Marley's ghost actually being two Marleys, and that being Stadler and Waldorf. That is perfect as well. And the way that the ghosts of Christmas past, present, future look in the style of Muppets, pretty good too. And not to mention, of course, well, the narrators, Gonzo and Rizzo, they are fantastic as well. They bring a lot of funny stuff to it, it's just really hilarious. The fact that Gonzo is playing Charles Dickens, while Rizzo, he's just himself. Out of all the Muppets, he's just playing himself. That is pretty hilarious. And even say this was, the only, Muppet film where Bean Bunny, I wouldn't say he had a big role, but just a minor role. This was one of his first and I think only Muppet films where he had a big time part in this, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, I saved the best for last. Michael Caine as Ebenezer Scrooge. Oh my gosh, Michael Caine. What is there to say about Michael Caine? What can you say about Michael Caine? He totally nailed the performance of Ebenezer Scrooge. He played this serious. He didn't do anything Muppety, of how, any other, person would interact with the Muppets. You know what I'm saying? He took it completely seriously. That's what made this film so good, I'm telling you. Muppet Christmas Carol, it's so great. The chemistry, the story, the songs, Everything to it, just fantastic. And for it making the number 2 spot. And my number 1 favorite Christmas film is The Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, isn't it obvious because of the getup I'm in? I'm just... Alright, but anyways, so The Nightmare Before Christmas. Yes, like, why not? Of course, why not have it be on the number 1 spot? Because what is there not to love about The Nightmare Before Christmas? It's a Halloween/Christmas classic, and one of Tim Burton's gems, one of his masterpieces, his creations, and even, of course, you have Henry Selick, who, took over being director, helped, stepped in and directed the film, and he did a fantastic job too. And look where Henry Selick would go on to do. Just fantastic, The stop motion is just so fantastic. The songs are fantastic. The music, all written and composed by Danny Elfman himself, not to mention he is the singing voice of Jack Skellington. With Jack Skellington just going into Christmastown, discovering what it is, and he wants to do Christmas. And yet the thing is, well, the citizens of Halloween Town, they really don't understand Christmas. Like the only characters that are really smart in this film, because I just feel like bringing this up, the only characters that are really smart in this film would have to be, say, well, Jack and Sally. Pretty much they're the only two that are very smart in this. And, oh yeah, that's right, Santa Claus is not on the shirt. Well, Santa Claus, yeah, he's smart too, so, And then, of course, you've got the main villain, even though he's not there for the whole movie, Oogie Boogie, yeah, because Oogie Boogie, he's such a great villain, and, I should say Disney villain, because, this is a Disney film, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Everything, what is there not to love about The Nightmare Before Christmas from the genius mind of Tim Burton? And, to think, because how he got inspired to create The Nightmare Before Christmas was, well, when he saw Halloween decorations being taken down and Christmas, decorations being put in a store when he was working at Disney, and that just popped in his head, to create the world of The Nightmare Before Christmas. And, at first he was going to do it as like maybe a children's book or a poem, but then years later it would be turned into a movie as we all know and love today. So, yeah, and The Nightmare Before Christmas, it's definitely one of my favorite, Halloween and Christmas films, that is, because, it is not only a Christmas film, but it definitely is a Halloween film, too. And it's also one of my favorites from Tim Burton. I should say one of my favorite Tim Burton films. So there you go. So taking the number 1 spot is none other than The Nightmare Before Christmas. In conclusion, and with all that being said, this has been my top 5 favorite Christmas films. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one, and I think, these are some good choices. And what about you guys? Like, which one's your favorite? Like, any one of these? And, some of the other Christmas films that I didn't talk about, like, that, because this is not a top 10 list, don't get me wrong, because I'm not saying that I don't like them. They're not really, they wouldn't be saying my top 5. Like, I can think of, say, A Christmas Story, Christmas Vacation, Elf, The Polar Express, and so on, much more. But yeah, so these 5 Christmas films that I picked, these are some of my all-time favorites. And I'm sure they're some of your favorites too. Leave comments and give this top 5 video a like as always. So with that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my top 5 favorite Christmas films. More top 5/top 10 videos on the way. They're gonna be awesome. Keep looking forward. And I'll see you guys in the next video /top 5/top 10. Take care, peace out, and have a happy and safe new year.